Hey everyone, it's CobDaddy here, just giving you another Escape from Tarkov new player experience video. I'm going to go through today and tell you about the Standard Edition, what a new player this late in the wipe can be expecting from their first couple of raids, and how I would play those couple of raids in order to try to succeed and get a foothold in this game, which will be pretty brutal right now with the amount of gear people are running. Now, like my last video, it's just going to be a one and done, so it'll be pretty raw. I do apologize. I just don't want to start video editing. Um, I really don't have the time, and I figured this will be a quicker video anyway. Now, going through what you get with a basic standard edition, your bonus equipment, you've got a knife that you probably won't get any kills with, realistically. It's good for the occasional glass break, but it's really up to you whether you want to run it or not. It's not much weight, so there's no real reason not to run it, and players can't loot it from you. A tactical rig and a backpack, I'd equip one of each straight away. You just definitely want as much space as possible to get that loot. You got your secure container, which people can't touch, so whatever's in there is coming out of raid with you. That is a piece of information you need to know, because if you find something very expensive or that looks very expensive, chuck it in that container. Now I'm going to go through the weapons here that you get. You'll get these pistols, Grutch or P226 pistols, depends on your faction, but they're essentially the same pistol. You'll get magazines and ammo. Looking at the ammo for them, I'm fairly sure it's going to be PST GZH ammo, 54 damage and 20 penetration, meaning it can reliably get through tier 2 armor face shields. Not that there's going to be that much tier 2 running around, but it's also good to know what you can expect from these pistols. Now, this late in a wipe, I don't believe many players at all will be running less than tier 3 armor. Most should be running tier 4 or higher armor. I typically don't run less than tier 4. I'm typically running tier 5. So if players are like me and semi-successful at Tarkov, they should be running tier 4 to tier 6 armor at this stage of the wipe, meaning that these pistol shots are not going to cut it. You would need a reliable high 30s to confirm kills, consistently. Anywho, it's not a bad weapon. It'll kill scavs, and that's what you're looking for. Your Makarov pistol, I'm not as big of a fan of. You're going to have less penetration, less power, and they're just fairly awful. I wouldn't run them unless you need to, and even then, they're pretty much only good for killing scavs, taking their guns. So they're worth keeping, definitely, just not worth running at the start. Your AK-74U and two magazines. I think it's going to be BP ammo in those magazines. I'm not 100% sure. It doesn't overly matter. It'll be PP or BP or maybe even PS. I'm not too sure. Meaning that you can start taking on those fights. Now, the recoil is going to be pretty bad because it's got no attachments or anything like that. Tarkov's a fairly extensive game. There's plenty of attachments. There's plenty to do with your weapons, and a stock AK is going to be pretty kick happy. Anywho, moving on, you've got your canned meat and your bottled water. They'll be good for topping up energy and hydration between raids, because as a new player, you're probably going to run, I don't know, 5 or so raids in a row, trying to get some equipment, trying to get that rush, get that adrenaline going, enjoying Tarkov. Now, onto your meds, you get 6 AR2 med kits. Now, these are good for 50 health at a time per usage and 100 health total. So definitely worth having these in your secure container. I would take 2 in. I'd also take a bandage in, which stops bleeds, and a splint in, which heals fractures. Now, the other thing you're going to want to be on the lookout is painkillers. So if you find painkillers, I'd take an AI2 out of that secure container and chuck the painkillers in. If you get a blacked out limb, which means it's taken like its full amount of damage and is now essentially useless, especially legs, you're going to be limping, you're going to be walking slow, you will definitely want painkillers, which can mitigate that. So your full outfit for your first raid should be one of these pistols, 2 or 3 magazines of ammo, um, 2 AR2s in your secure container, bandage, splint, tactical rig, and a backpack. Now, you'll load into your raid, and you will be presented with a map similar to this. well, you won't be presented with the map. I definitely recommend having this map open on another monitor. Now, my first bit of advice would be to run this map several times, especially for a new player, several times offline, um, and just have your scavs as online. They will be quite angry if they're as online, but they're still very much fightable. So you shouldn't have too much of an issue with them, and it'll teach you to go for those headshots anyway. Now, what we're looking for here is player spawns. Now, once you get comfortable with the map and you know your extracts, so sorry, I'm just trying to keep your extracts here, keep my head out of your extracts, I suppose. Um, you basically just need to learn your spawns and then learn your extracts. Customs is probably the easiest map to learn just because everything is a solid one direction. Um, if you spawn on the crossroads side of the map, you will need to push to the other side of the map. If you spawn on the ZB 1011 side of the map, you will have to push to the crossroads side of the map. Simple. There are plenty of maps where you can literally, book it pretty much where you spawn. It's essentially up to you when you want to leave a raid. Now, when you spawn in and you're comfortable with the map, you know your extracts, you know vaguely where you're going, what are you going to do? Now, this is what I was saying about new player expectations. Your pistol, your lack of armor, even your AK will not save you from players at this stage of the wipe. Now, as I said, they're going to be running tier 3 or higher armor, probably face shields as well. So you're looking at a bad time. My advice would be to take on the not so much the rat moniker that everyone hates. So people say, oh, there's rats and chads. My advice would be to take on the loot goblin or honey badger moniker. Now, that's essentially how I play this game, and it's made me pretty successful at it. Now, what I mean by that is you are there to loot, you are there to get certain items, you are there to do quests. If somebody threatens you doing that, you need to decisively win that fight, what like by any means necessary, or be able to leave. So that's what I was saying about bringing in meds. I didn't bring in meds for my first couple of raids, thinking that, oh, I want to fill that secure container up. Dumb idea. Bring meds. You can always chuck them away if you like, because they're fairly cheap. If you find such good loot that you want to chuck them away, that's fine. But seriously, my advice would be bring meds. Now, you spawn in, say, over here at these rocks. Now, you can tell that one of these PMCs is going to be here, possibly both, depending if they start shooting at each other. This one's probably going to book it to dorms, right? This one's probably going to book it up here, then go to new gas, whatever. The ones down here, it's a bit of a grab bag at the moment, so most will push to new gas or through old gas into the new area. It is sort of random at the moment what players are going to do, but that's typically what I've seen. Now, what I tend to do is loot my initial area because while you're creeping around, you'll hear players, especially if you have a headset on when you start getting headsets, and from there, you can sort of make your decisions. Now, giving you a brief overview of how my raids would go, and bearing in mind that my raid started before some of these buildings existed. Um, I don't know. We'll take this PMC spawn as a start. You know that someone will probably push this way if they want to. If they're going for PvP, they might push this way. You also know that there could be two other PMC spawns here and one behind these trains, so there could be several in your area. Now, if you spawned here, my sort of advice would be push into here, loot the cache, loot upstairs in this little building, and then make your decision based on knowledge. Your first 2 minutes in this game will tell you all you need to know about how the match is going, and from there you can sort of remove a bit of luck into whether you'll survive. Now, if I've spawned here and looted here, and this PMC has pushed in here, he's likely not coming all this way unless he's going the very long way to old gas, which I really haven't seen a player do. he's likely pushing in here for PvP action. So what you'll do, you loot here, you come out the back, loot another cache, go over to admin gate, loot another cache, push out here. You'll have a duffel bag, some loose loot on the table, which is typically going to be um, for food and drink, but you can get some good stuff. It says loose ammo in there. I've never seen ammo. It's always attachments. Plenty of you know, attachments on this table too, especially suppressors. Definitely worth having a look. And a toolbox, which is invaluable for those early hideout upgrades. So my typical customs run would be, and again, it depends on spawn. But even if I get this spawn and I'm closest and I can just go through old gas to the new area, what's the point in doing that unless you've got a docs case and you want to hit the intel building or something like that, and see how many pieces of intel you can shove up your bum. Um, there's not much of a point to it. My advice would be close every door you go into. That way, someone has to open that door if they're trying to come up from behind you, and loot. So if I get this spawn, I'm coming in here, I'm looting all this. Then I'm going to hit that cache. Then I'm going to come in here because these two loose loots, most people won't tell you, they're gas and water filter spawns. Like, there's plenty of fuel on customs if you know where to look. My favorite building to loot at the moment is this building, which is the USEC building, because now they've added upstairs to it, which has pretty damn reliable sugar spawns, which, again, sugar is very, very, very useful later on when you're trying to craft moonshine. But downstairs, you've also got the actual USEC stash, which is worth its weight in gold anyway. So this is the floor 2 of the USEC stash now. So on one side, you've got PCs, which there is a graphics card spawn as well. This loose weapon mod, in this corner, there's loose food. So I'm glad it's not on this map because maybe nobody's looking for it. But that's like my reliable sugar spawn, and like on that bed there as well. And I think on the table on this corner as well. Anywho, not to get into your weird spawns and stuff like that. But my advice would be get a loot run together. And the best one for me has always been caches. So again, you've spawned somewhere around here. You've essentially gone into loot mode for the first 5 to 8 minutes of this raid, where if you're hearing people running, you're essentially standing still, not giving away your position. You're not spinning around, you're not running, you're not jumping. You are just quietly looting. You hit as many caches as you can, or caches, whatever you want to call them. And my typical customs loot run is whatever I want to get in this side, hit the caches on my way around. I will go all the way out here to hit this one. I will creep in from these rocks to hit this one, and I'll push around. Typically, though, my runs changed a bit, but like now I'm a bit ballsier, and from here I'll sort of push through here and down through here. But definitely use the outside of your map, especially as a solo player. Like nobody can be behind you if you've got the edge of the map as your back. I don't mean like literally stand right on the wall, but 10, 15 meters in, scanning every now and then, you should be fine. So you've spawned over here, you've hit all these nice little buildings, you've hit the caches, you're moving along the side, cache, cache, cache. Come down here, hit this cache behind the bus depot. I wouldn't recommend this one. Most people do know about it, even though they don't seem to know about all the ones on customs. And you are stuck in a container. So I tend to just go past it, sort of stick either to this side or go around the back of dorms. It is up to you what you want to do there. I don't know. It really depends on the map. You can get away with a lot just sneaking behind the bus depot. But yeah, you can also go through the bushes here and try to catch PMCs unaware. It's up to you. That way you can come along here, see if Smuggler's Boat's up. If it's not up, come under this bridge, come around to the other side and poke your head up, see if there's RUAF roadblocks up. If not, then you can head to Crossroads or Trailer Park, depending on how the raid is going. Now, it's much the same from the other spawn, although I will admit this spawn is a bit of a shit one. So, Not this one in particular. This is a great one. This is the closest one to third story dorms, along with this one over here. So you can duke it out, whatever you want to do. But the rest of these spawns, on this side at least, are highly PvP centric. You will be facing players quite quickly and quite harshly. Now, if you spawn the trailer park, by the time you get to this road, this PMC can be here aimed down sights. So same with the PMCs here. They can be sitting here aimed down sights. So you need to know what you're doing in these situations, whether you jump straight along this wall and come in through this unit here, whether you push along the road here and go in through storage, whether you come on to the jump over here and try to get eyes on this PMC. It all depends on that starting information. If you spawn at trailer park and you hear a lot of shooting over here, likely these three have spawned and they're all duking it out or similar. Now, you definitely do want to learn your player caps. Now, customs is now 8 to 13. It was previously 7 to 12 players. Now, that's not counting player scavs. I have no clue how many can spawn. I've seen, I think, 7 in a raid that would definitely player scavs. So I was in like a 4 stack of them, and there was a 3 stack of them as well. So player scavs should terrify the crap out of you, and that is the other way that you'll be making money. So as soon as you're done dying as a PMC or you're out of loot as a PMC, start running that scav. Now, it's much the same. My advice for those early quests, there is a med bag in the back of a car here, I believe, which typically has Salewas, which is a therapist quest early on. My advice would be to hit these 2 blue buildings. There's one on each side of Big Red, depending what side you're on. So this side, there is a little gate here. Open the gate, run in, hit the med case, hit the filing cabinet. Always hit the filing cabinets as a new player, and then come back out, get along this road. Now, you're faced with a decision, which is you've got 2 land bridges, a junk bridge, and an actual bridge. My thoughts on this is if you have this spawn, junk bridge every day of the week. Even if you have this spawn, you can go junk bridge if you want. Any other time, I probably wouldn't take it. Mainly because players on this bridge will hear you from junk bridge if you're running on the orange junk, and they will have great line of sight on you from an elevated position, pretty much signing your death warrant. Even later in the raid, if you're pushing across and go, oh, I can just take junk bridge, a lot of the time you can, and a lot of the time a player will, even over here, hear you on junk, and then they'll beeline it this way and try to catch you on this side, or try to catch you running to crossroads. So you do need to be very wary that junk bridge makes a lot of noise. You've got a land bridge here that has a little bit of cover, and you've got this one over here. Again, it depends on your spawn which one you want to push across. My advice would just be take the bridge. At least there's cover on the bridge. People typically won't be able to snipe you effectively from the ground if you're on the bridge. And by the time you get to the other side, you can go any which way. Now, that's pretty much how my raids go. You come across, hit some loot over here, or if you're on this side, you can come across, hit these 2 stashes, and then go across the bottom of this bridge, and then push along the side of dorms, and then start hitting the caches. Now, I did that for a fair few raids. It gave me a bloody good survival rate, so my survival rate was, I don't know, 60% early on. It was all about taking your time. If you rush into things, you'll die. If you want to force PvP when you're under equipped and under geared, you're going to die. And it's not Call of Duty where you can just bam, respawn, go again. And that's probably the main tilting point for players is the fact that you've got 5 minutes of loading screens and re-equipping and getting back into it, which is definitely not the funnest thing about Tarkov. But as long as you're learning from those deaths and you don't repeat the same things that get you killed, I mean, it's worthwhile. So that's my typical customs run. My thoughts on PvP have been explained, which was basically don't seek it out until you can. I will make another guide very shortly on what early PvP could look like, what sort of ammos you should be looking to run, what you should be doing. The fastest way to hit level 10 as a new player right now, which again is going to be quests. I'm just going to say that now. And basically where to go as a new player on each map. Now, I won't go into the ammo on this one. Suffice to say that anything high penetration you want to keep. So anything with 35 plus pen, I'd be keeping right now if you come across it. And basically, yeah, using it if you have a weapon that can run it. Now, again, like the honey badger, you want to be able to take players out very efficiently, very quickly. So my advice to you would be avoid shotguns at the start. Focus on getting any sorts of rifles. Um, so probably 5.45 by 39 AKs and the 5.56 by 45. Now M855 is not a great ammo, but it is sort of plentiful, and with rec rechargeable batteries being as common as they seemingly are, you can make a trade for them with skier level 1, get a stock 8R, which is a semi-automatic M4 essentially, run 855, and you've got a semi-okay gun, which could be used for the reliable head taps that I was saying earlier. We will go through this in a future video. I just wanted to get this one out there just as a what to do with your sort of stash at the start, what to expect as well. Now, you can go ahead and chase PvP by all means. I feel bad every time that I kill someone who's like under level 10 now, realistically, because they're just, I don't know. I wouldn't hunt down a player that seems very undergeared. So a lot of players don't think like that though. So running a loot run is a lot more effective as a new player right now than running PvP. That's pretty much all I want to say on this one. I'll go ahead and get this one uploaded, and I'll start working on some map guides, show you sort of full recordings of me doing these loot guides and what you can sort of expect from those guides. Again, I'll post all the links in the description to No Food After Midnight's ammo guide, the Tarkov hideout requirements guide, which I will reference as well. And just the wiki, as well as the Map Genie maps, which are just amazing. Definitely recommend having a second monitor, having one of these up at all times. Even if it's on your phone next to you, you can always hide in a bush and, zoom in, zoom out, remove filters, add filters, go, oh, I'm hearing a lot of noise here. It's going to be scavs, mainly because PMCs don't typically talk that often in game unless they need to. So I'll leave it there. I'll pop this one up and we'll go ahead and think of future videos to do. I really want to improve that new player experience for any players just because Tarkov is just that brutal. With this stash, you can do a lot though. You, even if you survive one out of your first two raids, that's amazing. That means you are going to be that much closer to, having a full stash, millions upon millions of rubles, and a happy Tarkov experience ish. So I'll leave it there, and I'll catch you in the next one.